This is a bit of our agenda for today. We're going to do a room audit, who's tried. We're going to talk about the friction tolerance threshold. You're kind of probably like, well, that's a lot of jargon words. Data that screams urgency. How do we fix it? Why do we fix it? Got a few bonuses in there for you. And then we'll have high five discussions, questions, and I'll try my best not to put everybody to sleep as we get through the last session of the day. All right. So a room audit. Who's tried? Let's do the Slido thing. Okay? Go ahead and do that. I want to know, now it's always a wild card. I don't know what I'm going to get in the room. How many of you have made a donation on your own website? On desktop, on mobile, on both? Or you never got to it because you were afraid to? That's like a common thing. Like people will run away like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to try it. Because you forgot, you just never got around to it, or you just never had any time. This room's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. I've been in rooms where like 50, 60, 70% said, never tried it, never did it, never did it. So far, we have here 65% of the room have tried it on both devices, 13% only on mobile, and a fifth only on desktop. So that's cool. That's good. We have 25 votes in, 26. We'll move on to the next in just a minute. Okay, great. Now, if you're up for it and you want to make a donation, I'll hit you back the $5. Just show me the email, forward me the email, send it to Salvatore. I'll send you a Venmo, $5. If you're up for it, make a donation now on your website. We need to understand what we're asking donors to do when we're sending emails, when we're doing things. Anybody up for it? Show of hands. Do it. Forward me the email after. I'll send you $5, or I'll make a donation of $5 to your org to double yours. I'll match you. Ready? All right. I'm going to start a timer. Let's see how long it takes us. Okay. Ready, set, go. Make a donation to your website. See what it feels like. See what we're asking the donors to do. This is a little bit of a quiet time. It's going to be good. When you're done, you can scream out bingo. We got a couple of bingos already? Nice. Those are, you use a Fundraise up, I know, yeah. Riley, that wasn't like 32 seconds. That was awesome. Cool. We're under a minute still. Nice. Done? Nice. I'm going to get a minute and 12 seconds. Good. Bingo. Bingo, good. 1:15. I'm going to let this stew for a second. This is fun. We're going to go for another 15 seconds. If you want to continue, you can. All right, you know, we'll go another 30 seconds. We're going to go to 2 minutes. Yeah, there we go. I heard that. Did anybody get a CAPTCHA? Anybody have to like? Yeah, you got to. You're good? Nice. All right. 3, 2, 1. 2 minutes. All right, I'm going to stop it there. You're welcome to continue. And you're. And you can forward me the email if you got it, salvatore@fundraiseup.com, and I'll take care of it for you after. All right? Cool. So if you've made the donation, I want to do this next question here because this is important. Let's go ahead and see how many of us got thank you receipts. If you want to scan that and do that. I'm keeping you busy on your phone here for a minute. I was telling someone earlier today. You got one? Good. And I was at a conference and I was making donations to everybody because I saw a stat that said 28% of nonprofits do not send thank you emails. They don't practice manners, essentially, right? And I was in disbelief. And then everybody that was coming to our table at this conference, I said, let me make a donation to your organization. And it was true, like 30, 40% of them just never acknowledged at all that I gave money to them. Like imagine that anywhere else in your life. Anywhere else. A few of us didn't get the email. Most of us did. That's good to see. All right. So let's get into the juicy content here. On average, according to M&R, it's about 4 minutes to complete a donation for donors. And let me turn that off. The average on Fundraise Up is 2.3 minutes, so we can cut that in half just by doing some modernizations and taking some keystrokes away from donors and so on. That's the industry stat. So the point of this is every day we ask donors to give, all day, every day. And we often don't know what that experience is like end to end. From asking, to clicking, to paying, to do they get the receipt immediately or a few days later, right? That's like a critical gap for many of us. So we're going to talk about the friction tolerance threshold. Anybody have any ideas what that jargony-filled phrase might mean? Evelyn?
I should probably be your backup because I'm cheating on the UX designer.
Okay. Okay. You want to take a guess? Go ahead, shout it out.
Yes. Like the unsmooth experience where like there's a friction or like an error or something, and that at some point we lose the people. They don't tolerate that. Like.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anyone else want to do a take on that? Yeah.
How much you're willing to put up with before you give up?
Yep. Exactly. How many of us didn't finish the donation that we started? Okay. So that's like, I don't know, of the room, maybe 15, 20%, right? And you care. And like you actually care. And you work there and you're all day in that content and you're in the mission and you still couldn't make it through, right? Imagine somebody that just gets an email and has literally about 8 seconds to read their email and decide what they're going to do. Okay? So let's talk about the friction tolerance threshold. It is exactly as you said, it is how much friction I, as a human, not a donor, but a human will tolerate to complete a transaction. This is my highly scientific chart. Down here is easy, almost no friction. And then up there is difficult, lots of friction. This is what we're used to, right? One click, I got my food, shop pay, it's going to text me a code, I'm going to put it in, I'm done, or just buy now with one click and I get my thing from Amazon. So when we're buying, we actually have quite a high tolerance for friction, evidenced by Taylor Swift tickets. Anybody try to get those? Right? A lot of friction. Got to sign up, get the code, wait in line, minutes. I'll do whatever it takes. Okay, I'll do it. Even though we have more tolerance for friction in buying, e-commerce and the world knows, keep it low for most things, right? Increase it when you need to for tickets. But for the most part, I'm willing to put up with more to get new sneakers, to get my food, to get this thing that's a limited edition, because I'm getting something for it. But even though I have a higher tolerance, it's imperative for the global economy to keep friction low. Okay? Does that all make sense so far? Right? E-commerce removes that friction whenever possible. They know it's going to decrease revenue if they have it. One click in the cart, complete the purchase, very easy. And in some cases, demonstrated by the tickets again. We have a high tolerance. What are these? What year do you think these are from?
2025?
2020, the winner, right? That's what we're dealing with in our space, right? Now, when I'm giving, I actually have a very low tolerance for friction, and we're giving them tons of it. This is I'm almost like out of words. Like, if we look at industry reports and we look at benchmarks and we're like, giving's down and my conversion rate is really slumping, I mean, we should expect that, right? So donation forms are riddled with unnecessary frictions. Because of this, we're hemorrhaging money. Not just in donations that aren't converting, but in our ad spend, in the time and effort we're putting in with agencies, and the hours that the CauseMic team is putting in building your ad campaign and writing your content and getting that out there. All of that return on investment in ad spend and all of that is determined by how much friction we're putting in front of the donor. I mean, I've seen donation forms, and maybe some of them are yours, where like you're asking every question under the sun, right? Like, where did you hear about us? And all kinds of things in that form. And it's like, do we want the gift first, or do we want to know everything possible about them? Some of those friction examples are one or few payment methods that we're offering donors, unclear errors. Anyone ever make a donation, like you click the submit button, like every field just turns red? You don't know which one it is. Like I've seen them, like they just put the list at the top, and you can't figure it out. If you have a dated user interface, if it looks old, there's a trust issue there with the donor. And that was covered in some of the website conversation we were talking about, Franny, right? Like make it, you have to portray what the respect level you want from that donor. Do you want them to believe that you steward their funds properly and you're, putting your best face forward and all of that? It's got to look modern. It's got to connect with them. Mobile difficult, right? That's a thing, right? You can have mobile responsive. It can still be difficult. The final bullet here is one of the ones that I still, can't wrap my head around why it's not common. More commonplace is the autocomplete. We were talking about that at the table talks. Like, the address field, is it filling it out for me as I type? Everything else on the internet, I haven't typed more than the first 2 numbers of my address in years. But every single donation form I go to is making me type it out. Every single field. Like, where I'm at, my IP address, just select the state for me at least, right? Like, do a couple basics for me. Every click we give a donor, we're losing money, right? Everything you need them to do, you're losing revenue. Every single thing. Every question. When you add a field to your donation form, you go, what's more important, a 1% loss in revenue or that data? That should be the question you're asking yourself every time you add something to that experience. So that's the delta we're dealing with. So what that means is we're shooting ourselves in the foot, both feet, right? Both feet, because we're giving them more friction when they have a lower tolerance. Like, one of those would be nice if only one of those were true, right? But it's not. It's not, unfortunately. And I don't think I talk about, here we go. This is it here. When we're buying, tolerance is higher because we want to get the thing. What's the thing? We talked about it before. The sneakers, the new bag, the pizza, whatever it is. So I'll do whatever it takes. Now, e-commerce has it figured out. They're reducing the friction, and there's a high tolerance. Like, I don't care. We're just going to keep taking clicks away from them. Let me take clicks away. That's the whole job. Reduce keystrokes and clicks. Every single time you do, numbers go up. Number of donors goes up. When we're giving, we get the thing, we talked about this, we get the thing when we click donate. What's the thing in giving? Feeling good, right? I'm generous. It's confirmation that I am a generous and good person. I click donate, went to your donation form, and it's a car wreck, and I'm out, and now the blame is on you. But they got what they came for. They got your email, they clicked the button, they considered, they looked at it, and they went, I don't have my credit cards, and they only take credit card. I wish I had Apple Pay, otherwise I gotta go, or whatever it is, right? Or they're fumbling on the field, and they're trying to select the state, but yours says Florida, and their thing says FL, and whatever, and you can't figure out what the right thing is. Whatever the reason is, donors are almost looking for an excuse to not finish, and we have to work a little bit harder to eliminate all of them, right? So we get that thing in giving, not when we finish the donation, not when we get the receipt, but when we click the button and we prove to ourselves, I'm a good person. That's it. The bar is higher for nonprofits, and that means we need to work harder and be better than e-commerce, essentially. Now that's a tall order to fill, right? We have less money, we have less staff, but it's really the truth. It's in a utopic world, nonprofits were better at converting than e-commerce even. They have money, we don't, right? E-commerce has all the money, they got shareholders, they got profit, they got all the stakeholders, and they're just like, let's just keep fun. 0.5% increase. Matt, you mentioned, Matt's here somewhere, 35% more revenue, right? For those that they've seen on average move over. Do you know what Netflix would do for 35% more revenue? They would invade a small country, right? And make it like Netflixopolis or whatever, right? They would move mountains. And I'll talk to nonprofits and I'll go, listen, I got some ideas that you might want to try. I don't care if you use Fundraise Up, but you got to do this. And you're going to get 30% more revenue. I don't know. Our IT guy said only one integration. Right? Or, but I don't know. I've been using this one for 15 years, so I'm really comfortable with it. Something's off. Something's broken, right? Netflix would move mountains. Amazon would move mountains for a fraction of a percent of a revenue increase. So let's look at some data, wherever you're coming from, that screams urgency. I think of my daughter, she calls me Dada. And then sometimes I'll talk about data in the house, and then she'll be like, Dad, are you talking about yourself again? No. No, something different. Okay, all web traffic, this is a stat from, this was in a report that compiled a lot of data. All web traffic, about 77% of it is mobile devices. And about a quarter of it is on desktop. 65% of e-commerce transactions are on mobile devices. Okay? Usually smaller in value. That's fine. That's normal. We'll talk about that in a bit. And 35% of transactions are on desktop. Now, check this out for nonprofits. Okay? So we're not far on the traffic. 57, 77, I mean, it's a big difference, 50% difference, but it's also because we have this echo chamber of my donors are older and I'm only going to do this and they're not younger people and yada yada. And it's this perpetual cycle that happens. But regardless, 57% of our web traffic in nonprofits are on mobile devices, 43% on desktop, but donations were coming in at 25%. So the difference between the 25 and the 57 is where our bucket just has holes in it. We're just losing donors. That difference is like hundreds of millions of dollars for the planet, for the industry, et cetera, okay? 77% of donations on desktop. These are the stats for Fundraise Up across all of our nonprofits. 51% of all the donations are coming in on mobile devices. So that's a lot of the lift that we bring to nonprofits we work with are on the mobile donors, because those are younger donors, and those are donors that are impulse donors. They're, in the moment kind of donors that are able to give on their phone, et cetera. And that's with an AI-powered, personalized, mobile optimized. And I want to draw a quick side note to the term mobile optimized. We're all familiar with mobile responsive, right? Is your website mobile responsive? Back when the iPhone came out, every single agency said, you need a mobile responsive website. Mobile optimized, right? And mobile responsive is take my long form for my desktop, stack it vertically for a phone. That's mobile responsive. Mobile optimized is when it's a completely different experience altogether, built for the phone, meaning the button is within thumb reach, the text is larger, et cetera, okay? So that's a difference between, it's like the difference why you use the Amazon app to buy and not Amazon in your browser, okay? To help you kind of like square it up a little bit, even though the Amazon browser version is pretty good, but still, you always go, you go for the app. So mobile conversion pretty much triples when you personalize it, when you have address autocomplete. And that's not just on mobile, on desktop as well. When you have Apple Pay, Google Pay, Venmo, I don't care how you want to give me your money, right? Friction is also speed of the website in your page load. Every 1 second delay, and there's other stats around page load speed times of nonprofit websites compared to your global average, and we're way higher. That's for a number of reasons that can pretty easily be remedied, and I can share some tips with you on that. But every 1 second delay in a nonprofit page load is a 7% drop in conversion, compared to a 3% drop in e-commerce. Every time I found data about nonprofits, I go, what is happening in the e-commerce world? So that confirms that there's a friction tolerance threshold that's lower for giving than e-commerce, okay? 3 seconds, 32% abandonment increase for every 3 seconds that it takes the page to load. How can that happen? You uploaded an image to your donation page that was not compressed and optimized, and it was a 2.5 megabyte image, and it could have been 200 kilobytes. Nerd talk, but those who know, know. Right? Payment friction. Nonprofits miss 53% of mobile-first donors by lacking Apple Pay and mobile wallet options. Half of people that open your email on mobile devices and click donate will not, because you only take credit card. Stats, facts. I have a friend that he sends me an emoji of a fax machine. Like when I tell him something, he's like, and he just sends me that, and I go, oh, I get it. So that's payment friction. So here's some stats on that as well. So less than 5% of donation forms have Apple Pay, according to M&R. 90% of retail in the US takes Apple Pay. 28% of donation forms offer some sort of mobile wallet usage. That's largely impacted by PayPal, which is the second most common mobile wallet to find on a donation form, right? But that's also a demographic that's aging. They're doing new commercials. And you see the new one with Will Ferrell for PayPal? You see this one? It came out. I just saw it last night, actually. But I'm like, oh, well, they're really trying hard to get into that younger demographic, you know? But then again, it's Will Ferrell. Anyway, maybe it's my demographic. So 28% of nonprofits are using Mobile wallets, mostly PayPal, 58% of point of sale, 36% online. So there's a gap there, right? There's a gap there. We recently put out a new report that we talked about M&R benchmarks earlier. We did our own benchmark report that just came out. You can text SAL to 83100. It'll send you back the link to the report if you want to download it, a bunch of other stuff too. I'll tell you what that's about at the end. So M&R industry benchmarks versus the data that we have, which is only nonprofits using Fundraise Up. Okay, that's the only data we can access, right? It's first-party data to us. The industry average one-time gift, $115. When you leverage AI, when you make it easy for donors, when you don't make them type, when you don't make them go upstairs to get their credit card, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we have a 79% increase in your average one-time gift. Similar for monthly gift, 87% increase in monthly gift. Conversion rate goes to about 30% from the industry average of around 14%. Everyone on the same page with conversion rates? I know we're at different, right? Number of people that visit your page and finish. That's where we're losing money. Donations on mobile, 51% versus the industry of 33%. That's in the last report there. So all that to really share and to underline the importance that the technology, I was talking to someone just a little bit ago, well, we had a donation form, it's fine. It's a donation form. The technology matters, right? And this shows kind of starkly that it can reverse negative industry trends, or even just trends within your own organization around the results you're getting, and it can amplify positive trends, okay? So if the industry's saying, I think one of the stats was like individual giving went down, 1.8% or something last year from the Giving Institute or Fundraising Effectiveness Report, I can't remember which one it was. And then ours showed a plus 2.1%. So that's reversing a negative trend depending on the technology that's being used, and amplify positive ones, right? If the subscription economy is booming in e-commerce and for-profit, but it's also taking off for nonprofits as well. So I think it was 3 or 4%. I think our nonprofit saw a 10 or 12% lift in number of donations that were new first installments for monthly giving. The technology is doing that. It's nudging donors in different directions. It's making it easier, making it more palatable. It's adjusting the ask amounts that we're asking donors, all kinds of stuff. So how do you fix it? We talked about these things, right? So how do you fix it? What are the things, what are the strategies, what are the technologies that are used in e-commerce that we kind of need to port over into this industry at an urgent clip? We need to get to it, right? Because funding is being taken away at government levels. So many, teams are getting smaller. We need to build efficiencies. We can't be doing manual tasks. We need to adopt these things. So to fix it, we have to level up. The technology's there. It's not necessarily out of budget. And they do the things that the donors are already used to, right? That's the whole conversation is, what do they expect? There's a definition of happiness that says when your reality meets your expectation, right? And we're not meeting expectation for donors, so they're not happy, and they're not giving. And the numbers show that in a macro level, right? It's not to say you're doing bad at your organization. It's the sector has been underserved by technology for the most part, right? Over the last 20 years or 30 or whenever digital fundraising started. We know the guy that built the first donation form, Mike Johnston. You know that guy? HJC. He did the first donation form for Greenpeace in 90-something. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Let's get into how we fix it. So, one, any two of you can open Uber Eats and you'll have a completely different screen, right? That's a dynamic customer experience. We need to deliver dynamic donor experiences, right? So this is what we're doing as an industry. We're not finger pointing, but as a complete sector. We're saying, here's the form, here's all the same questions, and everybody's getting it. I don't even know who you are, I don't care who you are, you're getting these 12 questions, 20 questions, whatever. Also available today with modern tech are personalized interfaces for each donor. For example, user 1 might get it defaulting to monthly because there's correlative data that says they're likely to go monthly. For the same reason that Uber pops up at a certain time, Uber One memberships, right? It's not everybody getting it at the same time. They're like, oh, you just did an order that could have saved you this much. Let me tell them when the order value is this much, they could have saved $12. I'm not going to tell them when they were going to save $1.50 because they're probably not going to switch, right? So all that stuff is built into the technology that we need to be using. User 2 might see the form in Spanish because their browser is set to Spanish as a default language, or Arabic, or whatever, right? So let me infer that your default language of your browser is this. Let me show you the donation form in that language. Or I see you're located in Colombia. Let me show you Colombian pesos, whatever it is, right? As the currency. It'll come back to the organization in dollars, but why are we making them do the currency conversion? We don't need to. So all of those different flavors of the experience are very custom and dynamic to who you are, where you are, what device you're on, all that stuff. So that's one way to fix it. Dynamic experiences. AI, what nonprofit session wouldn't be complete without some talk about AI these days? So this is using AI to help power that experience. And we were talking today again at the table. The table talks about what that means and how it works. So it's using data from that visitor, and it's going to instantly know what path it's going to ask that donor to go on when they hit the website, and then change that based on their selection. So one example. I go to your website and I say $100, and I say I'm going to dedicate this donation. The next ask that AI might say is, would you consider this gift annually? Because it's a tribute. But if there was no dedication there, it might say, would you consider monthly? But if it's a $2,000 gift, it's not going to do anything. It's going to take the money and run, right? We don't want to mess it up. So AI is going to do that. Another example that's the most famous one that gets the eyebrows raised is iPhone donors give 30% more than Android on a massive average, like right across, it's consistent. iPhone donors give more than Android. Does AI know why? No. It just knows every time I suggest a higher amount and they're on an iOS, it sticks. And the AI's goal is always to increase revenue for the nonprofit, so it's always going to keep retesting its hypothesis. Like, I don't know, I really want to get those Google Androids to $22 instead of $20. It'll keep trying, but if it doesn't stick, it's going to revert, right? So that's another kind of way that AI works. And there's hundreds of other customizations and dynamic experiences within that. Those are just two examples. Currency, language, frequency, what payment methods will be shown, what order they will be shown in, and so on. We know that when the gift is below $50, we essentially will almost hide the bank-to-bank method because the abandonment rate is very high. But if it's a larger gift, that option gets prioritized because they're more likely to use bank-to-bank, for example, right? So on and so forth. So that's AI. Any questions around the AI part there? We'll do more Q&A at the end, but does that give a high enough level understanding of what that's doing? Okay. This is an example of a donation checkout using Fundraise Up. I click the donate button, it comes right up on the screen. I don't get shuffled to another page. I was on one website that had to do 6 clicks to get to the place to give. It was like donate, then it was like ways to give, then there was like 18 options. One of them was one-time gift. One said monthly, one said this, that, the other, dedicate. It was like a diner menu. It was like way too many options. I click donate, like don't lose me. Like I want to give the money, like get to the conversion point as soon as possible. So in this case, click the button, pops right up on the screen where I am, finish that experience, get my gift. Show me a cute animal while you're doing it, right? So we're always trying to port over, and we're always looking at, as a company, we're looking at what is working in e-commerce. How do we bring that over? How do we translate that? Subscribe and save. We talked about Chewy today. We talked about Amazon. I mean, everybody does subscribe and save. So that's what this is doing. Hey, would you convert your $100 into a monthly gift of 20 or 15? The number of people that take this offer is astounding. And you can easily triple, quadruple, or more the rate at which you're acquiring monthly donors by using technology that intelligently knows when to ask them and when not to. Donors are there, they want to. Nobody that goes to a page to buy their dog food is thinking, I'm going to subscribe to dog food. But when you show me 10% off, I'm in, right? So that's what we're playing on. We're saying, how do we translate that to this context? I don't have dog food to give them. I don't have anything else to give them. But I have this feeling that they have right now, and I don't want to waste it, right? So about 3 to 10% of people that will see this making a one-time gift will convert to monthly. So very quickly, think about the number of one-time gifts you get in a year. Factor between 3 and 10% of them could easily become monthly donors if they were just asked in the heat of the moment. That's really it. Convenience fee. Concert tickets, Uber, everything. There's a little fee that's added to the bottom of it, right? For a long, the debate is softening, but I think it's still out there. And show of hands, who allows donors to cover fees in their donation form? And those that don't, is there an internal reservation about it? Like, that's rude kind of thing? Or is it just not possible with the software you're using? Is that it? Okay. So donors are just people, and they're paying fees everywhere. And they're even more willing to pay the fees for you than they are to an Uber or to a whatever, right? So it's not wrong to ask them to cover fees. In fact, we have data that is now statistically significant that shows those that cover fees are also more likely to make a second gift in the year and are also more likely to retain for longer if they become monthly donors. Because you've just given them a little extra generosity that they can show and support your organization. And that creates a stronger bond, right? So all of these things, while they do translate to more revenue, it's really just translating into opportunities for them to show you they care. And as long as you don't mess it up by getting to some endpoint where it's just going to be 1,000 fields and they can't figure out how to give you the money, you're good, okay? So this feature, and we need this, again, more than ever, reduces your operating costs, your overhead, your processing, your software fees. Donors will cover that for you. They're down. Just they'll check the box. We use AI, again, AI, to know when to pre-select that box. Riley, do you know if Partners in Health uses the AI on that? Okay. We'll use AI, and I asked Partners in Health because you guys have a higher average gift than most organizations, and your donors, you have a lot of larger gifts that come through. So the AI will say, hey, there's a certain point where pre-selecting that box is a bit offensive to the larger donor, the mid-level major donor. Giving you $1,000 and you want 50 more? I'm out. So we have actually, before we had this feature, before we applied AI to controlling that, conversion would dip on the organizations that had it pre-selected versus those that didn't. We said, wait a second, this is supposed to save us money, not lose us money. We added AI and we let them choose to opt into the generosity. Oh, you got cost? I got you on the $50. It's just about how we ask, not presuming, not being presumptuous, okay? So that is that feature. That is the translation from the convenience fee to what it is in our space here. Self-service dashboard. Give control to your donors. This, like, short story. Do I have that's the time, right? Okay, what am I at on time? 10, 15 minutes? We're good? Okay, I got it, thanks. All right. I'll talk forever, don't, you know. So short story, very short story. I was 31, got stopped on the street by an organization that conserves nature. And I signed up for a monthly gift because I was kind of pressured. I am a tree hugger, but I was also, you know, penny pinching, and it was a different part of my life. And I did the first installment, did the second. I'm like, you know, I would probably prefer to give to another org or whatever. So I started searching around for a phone number to call. Couldn't find it. Couldn't find an email address. They didn't send me thank you emails, right? And I'm starting to get like, I'm panicking. I'm like, I just got swindled. Like, this is a scam. Like, there's no one to call, and they have access to my credit card. I finally dug it up, found, I think I had to, you know, look at GuideStar or something to find a phone number, called in, and I had to talk. I was like, I didn't want to talk about it. I just said, cancel it. It left just a negative feeling in my mind and heart about that organization, now forever, right? And this is an industry that already has trust issues with donors. And we're like saying, give me your money, but, you know, like I don't want to call you if I lose my job. I'm already depressed. I got to call you to tell you I can't give you anymore? I don't even want to call the pizza shop if my pizza's 2 hours late. Right? Like, well, I'll avoid talking to a human however I can. Right? Nobody wants to talk to anybody. And you want me to call you? No, thanks. So, you know, if whatever you're using, you need to give your donors a place where they can feel like they have control. This is a recurring gift. At the bottom of this, there's a big, huge cancel button where donors can cancel their monthly gift. And something like 90% of those that click the cancel button don't do anything. They just want to know they can. Right? And then if they do want to do something, it'll pitch them some other options. Hey, do you want to reduce the amount instead? A certain percentage does that. Do you want to pause it for a few months? Do you want to take a 3-month break? I can do that on Audible. I can do it on Netflix on vacation mode. I can do that everything. Why can't I do it with my giving, right? So these are the expectations that people come to expect nowadays, and you got to give it to them. And if we don't, we can't complain about problem X, Y, and Z. Okay? This is also going to reduce a lot of internal work. Can you change my credit card? Can you update the day this happens? Can you send me my receipt? I'm doing my taxes. Can you give me all my receipts? All that. Give them a place. Let them do it themselves. I think about a third to a half of donors will leverage this when it's available, depending on the organization, demographic, etc. Why do we fix this? I'm sure you're drawing your own conclusions already. But that's why. Because these problems are here. They're not going away. When when the finance person, no offense to any finance people, I don't be in here. When they say like, I've been doing this way forever, I don't want to reconcile that sheet. PayPal's annoying, I don't know how to export that file. All right, cool. Can you just go let that guy know? Because he's not going to get any assistance from our organization because we're not able to do it, right? Or there's a bunch of dogs that aren't going to get, they're going to be put to sleep, or kids that are not going to get fed. These are real problems that are behind a conversion rate, right? Conversion rate goes from 15 to 30. That's like a lot more people, a lot more animals, etc. So that's the overview of the friction tolerance threshold. That's the data that supports why it's important. Those are the reasons we need to take care of it. I do have some bonuses here that I want to share. So if you text that, it doesn't go to my phone, so I'm never going to know your number. Don't worry. Text SAL to that number. You're going to get back a text with a bunch of links. One is we're launching the Fundraise Up Institute. It's platform agnostic, CFRE education. So whatever technology you're using, it's valid. It's just going to up-level you, upskill you for free. And it'll be worth about 30 CFRE credits. Anybody here doing CFRE? Anything like that? So if you do CFRE, you have a number you need to hit every year to renew that. This will give you a bunch of those credits. You'll get a link to the Pulse of the Donor report, the one that I shared with you, some of those stats. You can download that, compare that against other reports, see some of that information and data. You'll get my LinkedIn link. I'd love to connect with you. We can chat, shoot me ideas, send me your frustrations, wins, stories, whatever. And anybody here seen have you seen the Uncharitable documentary? Uncharitable. 1, 2, 3. Everybody needs to see it. Everybody. It's going to change your mindset. Am I right, Gary?
Well, you got it.
It changes your entire mindset. You go from the penny pinching to let's invest, right? And it's really worth watching. So it's on Apple TV. You can rent it, but we'll give it to you for free. Just go to the link in the text, and it'll kick you back a link. You can put in your email address, and you can watch that and stream it at no cost. So that's that. If you don't want to do the texting thing, find me, and I'll email you the links or whatever, okay? So with that, high fives to the person next to you if you learned something. There we go. Nice. No. Matt's concerned about insurance policies. Don't hurt anybody, right? Do we have any questions that we want to talk about? Any discussion points here around any of those concepts? Yes. Okay, so every organization that was using the data here, which is about 500-600 nonprofits, is using our platform, which has the mobile wallets, has the AI-driven personalization. It's the whole enchilada, the whole package. And then, which is par for the course with the platform, but all of the data here is referencing nonprofits that offered their donors that consumer level experience.
Well, I answered both questions.
Cool. Anyone else? Questions? Gary.
So I noticed, maybe I'm a throwback, but I noticed in all the platforms that you mentioned, you did not mention Venmo.
Venmo.
Old school?
No, it's there. It's a valid wallet. It's a valid payment method. In the report, we show the stats. I think it's about 2% of donors are choosing Venmo when it's available. Were you using Chrome?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why it showed Google Pay. The Apple Pay does need to be activated in your dashboard. It's just a few minutes to turn it on, but you go in.
Do you have to also then similarly activate that option to cover the fees?
Absolutely, yeah. So you turn that on. You can do the cover fees option, turn it on or off, and then you can decide if you want to let AI control that or not. So we do give a lot of the choices to the nonprofit of how much you want to automate or not. For the Apple Pay, there's one little thing that a web developer needs to do, is drop a little secret file on the web server so that Apple knows that you're a verified website. That's it. There's no other tech work there. So if you're an organization that has many channels of revenue, I've got tuition, I've got a store, I've got giving, that's usually you're either going to be large enough to have a unified place that's coming out of your CRM that's centralizing all that activity, or your store is going to have a order history, your tuition management's going to have tuition payments, and then your giving is going to have giving. So in this case, every single email that we send every month, or when you get your first gift, there's a link, there's a button in there that says Manage My Giving, Manage My Donation. You click it, and you're logged in automatically through a magic link, an encrypted magic link. If that token has expired, it'll just ask you, enter the email address you gave with. Hit the button, get a new link, and you're in. So you don't need to worry about passwords, usernames, any of that kind of stuff. Good? Cool. There you go.
All right, thank you, Sal.
Thank you, everybody.